Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on unlocking the potential for quantum computing in healthcare and life sciences. Today, we are joined by Dr. Gopal Karemore, Global Lead in Quantum for Healthcare and Life Sciences here at IBM. And Gopal leverages his expertise in applying advanced analytics to complex challenges in the pharmaceutical industry to help IBM quantum industry partners develop quantum computing use cases in healthcare and life sciences. So we will be doing a Q&A at the end of this webinar. So if you have questions as they arise, please feel free to put those in the chat and we will get to as many questions as we can at the end of today's webinar. In the meantime, I will hand it over to Dr. Karemore. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to your talk.
So thank you, everyone, for joining this one. And as I said, the title would be Unlocking the Potential of Quantum Computing in Healthcare and Life Sciences. So we have got a busy agenda. Let me minimize this part. So first, I will talk about what is quantum computing. I'm sure many people are from the academia. So I will briefly talk about what is quantum computing. Then I'll talk about what is IBM's advancement in quantum computing, such as our hardware roadmap, utility scale, what do you mean by beyond utility, what is a quantum-centric supercomputing. Then we'll briefly discuss about what are the current challenges in classical computation for drug discovery and development. And thereby, I will tell you about what people have been working on within the pharma for quantum computing in a general use cases within the community. And later on, I will talk about a handful of use cases that we are working with our IBM clients, enterprise clients. And then I will talk about if you're a student or if you're an industry enterprise, how you can start your quantum journey. And finally, I will conclude my presentation, followed by Q&A. Okay. So first thing first, what is quantum computer? It's a computer that exploits quantum mechanical properties to process information. What are those properties? It's a superposition, entanglement, interference. Superposition means that a quantum system exists in a multiple states simultaneously until it is measured. Entanglement is where the information is shared jointly between the entangled pairs and groups. Interference is when the interaction that affects likelihood of solution. But what does it mean to computation, right? Which is very important. So superposition turns out to be a massive parallelism. Entanglement gives you massive correlation, and interference gives the convergence of problem Hamiltonian to the solution, right? So as you can see, this has been a concept from quantum mechanics, and this has been there for a long time. This has been proposed by Richard Feynman, then Yuri Manin, and later on it will be formalized by Paul Benioff, like David Dodge, and so many algorithm has been proposed in a fault-tolerant era. For example, Shor's algorithm, Grover's algorithm, HHL algorithms. But it took many years to really go from this concept to physical realization of the qubits, right? And after the tireless effort of IBM scientist and engineer, we can now say that we have now a quantum computer with a physical realization of the qubits. And we call this as a system 2, it's a utility scale. That means that now the quantum computer has an ability to do a task which is beyond the capability of a brute force quantum computation. Okay, so that's what we call as utility scale. But this is not it, right? Because this is still a NISQ era. What we are ultimate goal is to go to the fault tolerant era, right? So I would like to share with you our hardware roadmap. This is how we're going to be achieving the full fault tolerant quantum computing. You can see this roadmap. It spans from 2016 to 2033 onwards. You have got an innovation roadmap. That means we use it for internal purpose, but this is the commercial roadmap. Important notification here is that all the milestone that we have proposed has been achieved so far. So we are fairly in line with our roadmap. It has been divided into actually 3 time horizon. As you can see, this pre-utility era, then this is a error mitigation era, and this is an error correction era, right? So if you see right now we're in error mitigation, where we have a Heron processor, we have a Flamingo series, so we will be actually increasing our gates from 5,000 to 15,000 by 2028. And point to be noted that by 2029, we'll be having 100 million 2-qubit gate right? Because of the error correction methodology that we have. So obviously you would wonder that definitely there is no doubt there is a quantum advantage in this particular era, but do you need to wait till that point? And turns out to be that not necessarily, because this is the regime where we have only approximate solution available. So we can always have a space of a quantum advantage for a specific use case for a specific data set, right? So we will have a quantum advantage way before 2028. And of course, this is a continuous innovation is important for making a performant computing. And what do we mean by performant computing? That we have some matrix, a benchmark for which we actually evaluate the performance of quantum computer. For example, scale. How many qubits we can support, because that will define how large quantum state you can represent, right? Quality, for example, that means the coherence time, gate fidelity, or measurement accuracy, right? Speed, like CLOPS, for example, circuit layer operation per seconds, because that is very important for real practical application of quantum computer, right? Like how fast you can run your quantum circuits on a quantum hardware. But just to understand, just to give you the idea of the innovation roadmap and how we have improved our error correction, for example, in case of error per gate, you see here from the Penguin, which is the initial kind of a generation of the quantum processor to Heron processor, it is continuously reducing the 2-qubit error rate, right? And through, of course, Falcon and, of course, the Hummingbird. But this is really amazing to see how the error rate has been reduced by the generations, right? It is also very important that the useful quantum computing is not only depends on the hardware, but also depends on algorithms and applications. So in an algorithm, we have developed, and it has been actually popular in the community of a quantum software development community that's called Qiskit. And as recently, we just added a Qiskit add-on function we call Qiskit function, where we can actually use a third-party, or user can use third-party software, which is basically gives a more abstraction for the end user. But just to make you understand why algorithm and application is important as much as hardware, look at this plot. It has x-axis circuit size, y-axis your circuit width, number of qubits, and all shaded region is pretty much, if you are in this shaded region, it means it's pretty much hopeless for doing a quantum experiment, because it can be easily simulated by a brute force classical computation. So here we have surpassed this shaded region we call as a utility error, and we have surpassed this one, but there is a challenge, because to do a real practical application, for example, spin models or chemistry optimization, they are far away from this side, right? So of course, there is no doubt that we have to, develop our hardware that is going from left to right, but we will also have to develop and innovate different algorithms, so that we believe that we will have some kind of a convergence point here where we will have a quantum advantage, right? Okay, so why we need a quantum computer, right? So of course, we are surrounded by easy problem. So we don't bother about that because we have all the AI, machine learning, GPU, TPU, CPU, ASICs. But there are actually hard problems, and computationally, let's say, for example, NP complete, NP hard, or P space problem, or QMA problem, right? And the subset of that hard problem is actually called quantum easy problem. Technically, it's called bonded error quantum polynomial, BQP problems. So what are those problems in healthcare and life science? So it turns out there are some phases of the drug discovery and development where the problems are actually very hard for a classical computation. For example, network biology, like a genome annotations, multi-omics analysis, in virtual screening, as you know, conformational space analysis, calculating binding energy accurately. That's also a limiting factor for classical computation. Protein design. This is a great example where we have a structure prediction, for example, de novo drug design and things like that. And we will see one by one some use cases. And of course, life science and healthcare is not the only field that we are exploring. As you can see, we have got various industry sectors where in industry application and technical services within IBM Quantum, we are helping our client with the different industry sectors. So obviously, when it comes to life science and healthcare, pharma plays an important role to bridge the gap between life science and healthcare, because life science focuses on understanding the diseases, where healthcare focuses on clinical development, patient-centric studies, and things like that. So pharma actually bridged the gap as a translational science, because these days we are now developing a personalized medicine thing. So actually life science happens. Previously, it used to be happening in the academia, but now the pharma is a bridge where from bench to bedside actually happens. So if you really want to understand the implication of quantum computing in healthcare life science, you understand what is the functional unit of pharma, and can we improve the performance of pharma so that actually we can leverage the application to life science and healthcare. So let us look at the pharma process, like pharma drug development and discovery process. And as you can see, many of you will be aware of this, and I don't have to tell you about how long is this process, how non-linear is this process. There's a lot of functional, silos are there, and there are a lot of limitations. For example, to develop a drug, you might need like a 3 billions of your US dollars, right? It's a very time consuming. It might take 10 to 15 years. 90% of the clinical trial fails. So attrition rate is huge. And on top of that, because of the high regulated compliance from FDA, EMA, of course, because of the inflation, the amount cost to make a drug actually increases, right, as you go on into the future. So these are the challenges, right? So if you really want to see how quantum computing can be helpful, we have to really understand how quantum can help to improve the efficiency of individual functional unit of drug discovery and development, okay? And the rest of my talk, I will talk about how quantum is going to helpful for all these functional areas, okay? So let's start with target discovery, which is the first step of drug discovery and development. So normally target identification and verification starts with systems biology, systems pharmacology. You generate the hypothesis, you basically understand the central dogma of life, like DNA, RNA, protein through transcription, translation. And you basically generate lots of data, like genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, all the multiomics. We are going towards the single cell RNA and the special genomics, right? Ultimately, what you get out of this one is basically a huge, complex, mostly it's sparse network, right? Would be a protein-protein interaction network, DNA-protein network, and so forth, right? So the problem here is that this whole field is called network biology, right? So we need some classical tools. We have some classical tools, but they are all the classical tools to understand this whole network biology. They're all heuristics and statistical-based methods, semi-empirical methods, right? So what we need is a really accurate method. And what are the problems in network biology, right? So the problems are, for example, community detection, where people have seen, okay, can we basically identify the critical proteins or genes in the complex, cancer signaling pathways, right? So basically finding a cluster using a quantum walk algorithm in the quantum community, right? The second kind of application is the higher order epistasis, meaning that, like, for example, the disease like polygenic diseases, for example, type 2 diabetes or heart diseases, where you have like more than 3 interacting genes, right? You have got 20 to 25,000 of genes spread across 23 pairs of chromosomes, right? So having this permutation combination is a computationally expensive problem, right? So people have solved this problem using the Grover search-based methods. Of course, it's going to give you a polynomial speedup, but still this has been proposed in the community. Then another one is the link prediction, where you can see, people have been developing as a network biology problem. As you know, that you have to predict the link for the sparse networks. And there has some proposal like quantum walk, which has some superiority as compared to classical walk or classical random walk with Monte Carlo walk. Okay. Another application you can see in this community of applying quantum computing in target discovery is about the sequence alignment. As you can see, the fragmented your DNA, you have the unaligned sequences we call reads, right? There are millions and billions of reads, right? And you have to basically sequence it and align it to the reference genome, right? So this is actually a very permutation combination problem. So it has been proposed that through all this Grover-based algorithms, you can actually reduce your complexity by factor m dot k, where it basically relates to how many qubits you have, how many reads you can actually superimpose. Then if you're moving to the next phase, which is the hit generation and lead optimization, you have to find a molecule which would be small molecule, oligonucleotide, peptide, enzyme, antibody. I mean, you are expert in this one, right? You can actually select any molecular entity for this one. And just to tell you about the complexity of this particular task is, if you just consider the biologics, right? And if you just only focus for not a natural amino acid, but natural amino acid, which is 20. And if I ask you to design a molecule with the number of residues K, then the whole conformational space or the chemical space is 20 to the power K, which is beyond the imagination of any classical tool or simulation to really explore that part, right? And on top of that, you also have to optimize with other parameters like a physiochemical property, biophysical property, stability, immunogenicity, ADME tox, PKPD stuff. So it becomes actually multi-constraint, multi-objective optimization problem, right? And the tools that we have is based on the force field. It's basically semi-empirical methods. It has less accuracy. What we really want is the quantum computer to really solve the Schrodinger equation. Just to explain this more, if you see this plot, the x-axis is the cost of calculation, y-axis is accuracy. Right now we use all semi-empirical method, force field, at most we use a DFT, right? But what we really want is to solve the Schrodinger equation so that we have a full configuration interaction, understand the entire Hamiltonian of the system, right? But it is very costly, as you can see here. As you want more accuracy, it is very costly affair. So there are some proposals in the fault-tolerant era. Of course, the quantum phase estimation is there, quantum amplitude estimation. Then we use a quantum Fourier transform and phase estimation, but they are all based on the fault-tolerant regime, right? In the NISQ era, which is a noisy intermediate scale quantum, we have a variational quantum eigensolver with QAOA problems. And there are some proposals how we can actually formulate this problem. So there is a huge application there. Actually, you can actually do accurate simulation of the supramolecular interaction, ligand design, and lead optimization. And also you can calculate the binding energy, right? Another aspect that people have explored is all about the quantum machine learning. And as you can see, machine learning plus, this is basically a amalgamation of machine learning and quantum computing together, right? And there is also supervised QML, unsupervised QML. There has been a lot of proposals such as, quantum support vector machine in unsupervised as a QGAN, quantum Boltzmann machine, and things like that. So now we will talk about what we have done for our enterprise client. For example, Moderna, Cleveland Clinic, STFC Heart Rate Center, and Amgen. So if we go one by one, this is our, I think, biggest investment in HCLC. This is our 10-year partnership with the Cleveland Clinic from IBM Quantum. Led by Professor Dr. Lara Jehai. So we have this 10-year partnership where we exploring the different facets of drug discovery and development, starting from target discovery to the commercialization of the molecule into the market. That means all the genomics, phenomics, and also the population genomics. So what we do here, so we have actually set up a working group within the HCLS community. And this is actually a paper that you would appreciate to go through it. This is actually a paper that we published. This is actually a perspective paper where it is actually a collaborative work between Cleveland Clinic, IBM, of course, but also the startups and also the academia. And so here actually we have proposed the 4 different application domain, so using this single cell multi-omics data, how one can use quantum convolutional neural network for CAR T cell therapy, for motif optimization, graph neural network for modeling the tumor microenvironment, and also we propose the quantum conditional optimal theory, right? Where our optimal transport theory, or OT, right, for the inferring the drug response at the single cell level. We have also proposed a quantum topological data analysis, which may be very interesting for data set like genomics, where we have a really high dimensional sparse data, but it has a hidden high dimensional data structure. So these are the actually very performant methods for that one. Another one is, of course, the protein folding. As you can see, protein folding is very important because to understand the structure, to understand the function, it is very important to understand the structure, right? And of course, we know that there are different techniques out there. For example, the experimental methods are like cryo-EM, X-ray crystallography, which are very time consuming, right? And that's why we have a template-based technique. And as you can see, the Nobel Prize last year for chemistry, of course, it was AlphaFold, Rosetta Fold, for example. They have done really amazing job, right? But what we need is also, and I will tell you why, for certain conditions, that the physics-based method, like ab initio method, like physics-based method about finding the ground state energy of the structure. And the reason is being this one, right? Because if you really see the protein, which has a low MSA depth, so multi-sequence alignment depth, that means that less co-evolution history. And if you have a more mutation, if this protein size is large, then normally such methods like AlphaFold or Rosetta Fold, they struggle to get the structure of this one, right? So in that case, we really need a physics-based method like ab initio methods. And this is where we propose the QAOA method, VQE methods for protein structure prediction. So this is a result of Cleveland Clinic. We have actually predicted the structure of 7 amino acid catalytic loop of Zika virus. As you can see, the result of AlphaFold, which is far away from the ground truth, as compared to our VQE algorithm, which is fairly, basically it is, so the error is less as compared to AlphaFold and also the brute force method using Garobi. And we have also used this method, applied it for 10 amino acid angiotensin peptide on 22 qubits. As you know, in this field, angiotensin, we have also applied it for 7 amino acid neuropeptide. All these molecules has a physical significance in pharma and pharma relevance, right? And we have also in this paper projected how this particular method would scale as compared to our hardware roadmap, right from your Eagle to Kookaburra and others hardware mapping, with respect to MSZ depth, number of mutations, and also with the protein size. Another interesting use case that we have done with Moderna, it is about the mRNA secondary structure prediction. As you know that mRNA therapy has been there for a long time, right? It has been always interesting because mRNA has an advantage of you can actually sequence any protein, which you can't do it with recombinant technology, right? It has also a less off-target affinity, for example, right? But there are some challenges to do this one. And the challenges are stability, for example, developability, right? Because nanolipid particles and stuff like that, immunogenicity. And all this factor depends on how accurately you can actually describe your secondary structure. For example, hairpin, helix, multi-branch loop, for example, bulge, and the pseudonodes. So, and normally the software like AlphaFold 3, they struggle to get such secondary structure accurately. So we have proposed how one can use quantum computers. So we have used actually 42 nucleotide mRNA sequence on 82 qubit. So of course we use more qubits, but this was how the problem Hamiltonian was mapped onto the 80 qubit side. Another work that we have done is with the Hartree Center. That's a ligand-based virtual screening. What we have done is we have got a lot of molecules with some affinity with the functional assays, and we have extracted the RD-kit features. And of course, we have to reduce the dimension using PCA to accommodate the number of qubits that we have right now, physical qubits. And then we have done all the quantum support vector machine, and then we have shown how accurately these models are as compared to the state-of-the-art classical machine learning models. Another work that we have done with Cleveland Clinic and STFC Hartree Center is about the clinical trial site optimization. As you can imagine, how important is the clinical trial. So, of course, clinical trial, what we are really looking for is the efficacy and safety. But apart from these two parameters, which is basically inherent to the medicinal effect of the drug, and all other biological factors, there is other factor which is called technical success of the clinical trial, right? And that depends on how efficiently you select your site, how efficiently you select your cohort. All these factors is basically boils down to the portfolio optimization, which is very similar to the financial asset optimization. And we have proposed how one can use quantum optimization method for getting the low cost high enrollment or the low cost low enrollment and different scenarios. Another work we have done with Amgen, and this is about the drug adherence prediction. As you can see, without adherence data, it is so difficult to really see the failure of the drug. Is it because of the low adherence or it is because of the lack of efficacy, right? So it is very important to have the adherence prediction. And we have done this for patient using electronic health record, undergoing the 6-month medication for rheumatoid arthritis. And we have shown how quantum support vector machine can give a probable quantum advantage for a specific data set, for specific features over the classical one, right? This is just a perspective I'm telling you, is that with all our experiences that we had with the pharma companies, it is very evident that all pharma companies have a very low sample size data because it is so difficult and it is not efficient to really generate the negative data, right? So this is a basic problem or basic challenge of all pharma companies, right? Or HCLS companies. And we have also the biomedical foundational model. So to utilize this biomedical foundational model and the strength of biomedical foundational model, there is always a bottleneck that because it has a low sample size, it will not generalize it, right? So here, what we have been also doing is we have developed a quantum enhanced fine tuning of the biomedical foundation model so that we can have different application tasks, right? Because as you can see, it's a foundational model. We have a really nice foundational model, which was developed by our biomedical team here. And it could be applicable for target discovery, target validation, lead identification, preclinical and clinical applications. Now, I would like to share with you our vision, right? What we think IBM Quantum can contribute to the computing and what will be the next computing generation. And that is going to be quantum-centric computing, which will be the combination of bits, neurons, and qubits. So bits referring to here classical HPC, neurons refer to AI infrastructure, qubits refer to quantum. So quantum will work in tandem and basically boost the performance of the classical HPC along with AI infrastructure. And this is not only the something on the map, but this is going to happen actually in a couple of months. So we're going to have a collaboration. This is going to be an integration of the Fugaku supercomputer and System 2. So they will be sitting side by side, and this is going to be really amazing. And I just want to share with you some results that we have actually obtained by extending the method of SQD, which is published before, but we've extended this work with the sample-based quantum diagonalization. So here is a iron sulfur cluster. So what we have done is we have with a 36 orbital active space, we basically projected that into the 72 qubits. And we have shown that it would take only 2 hours using our quantum-centric supercomputing, as opposed to 3 million years using pre-fault fault tolerant, which is impossible. And even if you use a fault tolerant, you might need like 4.53 million qubits, right? Which is not possible. And of course, it would take 13 days, even though in that case, right? So, and it has a huge application in this one, right? As you can see, understanding protein function, predicting cluster reactivity. And we have extended this work for, simulating the potential energy surface of water molecule, methane dimers, also extended for, ground state energy calculation for 18 hydrogen atoms. So ultimately, I know it has been a fast pace, but that was my whole intention, to show you what people have been doing in a general community about the application of quantum computing in the community of healthcare and life science, and how we are helping our enterprise client within HCLS, right? So if you are a student or if you are in academia institution, and if you want to start your quantum journey, we have got amazing materials in the learning foundation by John Waters, for example, or Olivia Lanes. We have got amazing lecture series where you can actually start from quantum 101 to really a practical application of quantum computing. But if you're an enterprise client and if you're an enterprise industry and if you want to start your quantum journey, one of the offering that we have is with a 9 months offering, that is Quantum Accelerator, where what we do is we will help you evaluate your opportunity, meaning that we will help you formulate your problem. We will do a feasibility testing. We will build an awareness within your organization. And the second stage where we will demonstrate with your team application, which would have some kind of advantage to your value chain. And then we will actually scale that into we'll transform it into the enterprise workflow, right? So you can really see the industrial application to that particular effort that we are having. So this is a 9-month engagement. It's super fast and it's very efficient. So please have a look at this one. And of course, with this one, you're going to have access to the world's most advanced fleet of quantum systems from IBM Quantum. And of course, you're going to have an access to IBM Quantum Network, which is actually a global community of driving innovation. As you can see, so many members from academia, QICs, member organizations are there, startups are there, industry partners are there. So you will have an opportunity to mingle with them and share your experiences. So this is my last slide, which is basically a take-home message. And as you can see, we have seen the different application of quantum computing in drug discovery and development, starting from target discovery to, to phase clinical, preclinical, and clinical development. So this is just, we're not saying that right now you're going to get a return on investment, but this is definitely a path, and definitely a leadership should think about how to start your quantum journey, right? So finally, what you're going to get is you're going to diversify your therapeutic portfolio, as we have seen how quantum computing can help understand the network biology problem so that the target, which was not possible to investigate, to come up with a hypothesis, you can actually do that. We have also seen how quantum computing can help you diversify your molecular format. That means from small molecule to mRNA to to stem cell to oligonucleotide, and so many things. Doors will be open, right? And definitely, it is going to reduce your R&D costs because it is going to shorten your drug design and development cycle, so that the bench to bedside will be reduced, so that patient will be benefited most. And most last but not the least is about securing your IPR, intellectual property rights, because as you can see, the innovation space is actually is expanding, right? All low hanging fruits are gone. So unless you innovate, you're not going to get an ROI, right, from the longer run. So quantum computing can help you, secure your IPR. So with this, I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and I would be very happy to take any questions if there are.
So I'll hop in here. Thank you so much, Gopal. That was incredible. Just speaking personally, seeing all of these real world applications that are happening right now is pretty eye-opening. So really appreciate you sharing your expertise here.
Thank you much.
And just for the folks on the webinar here, the first QR code that you're looking at is our Business Foundations course. And so if you want to learn more about how quantum applies to business applications, that's a course that you can check out, and you can earn a badge if you complete it. And then the second one, the second QR code is a deep dive into one of the case studies that Gopal actually shared in this webinar today. So if you want to learn more about this particular chemistry modeling application, then I would encourage folks to check that out as well. So at this time, we are in our Q&A session. So if you post your questions in the chat, and if you see a question that you like, go ahead and leave an emoji, and we'll hop into the questions. But just to start out, Gopal, how should the healthcare and life sciences industry prepare for the advent of quantum computing? And what are some first steps that an organization can take to stay ahead?
I think definitely, as I said, also it's about the quantum awareness, right? And depending on which phase of quantum journey you are in, like quantum awareness, quantum readiness, quantum advantage, and of course the industrial advantage, right? So you have to really evaluate where you are, and definitely a collaboration with your academia partner, also the industry partners such as IBM Quantum can also help you to evaluate, as I said, with the quantum accelerator program. You can also be a part of IBM Quantum Network. But I think collaboration is a key. And I think the two things is very important. One is, I know after having worked for pharma company for a long time, it is also very important that you have to also convince the upper management. And that comes with the showing the fast POC. That is like from the top, but also you have to actually hire, for example, a quantum scientist, or maybe you have to select a quantum champion in your team and let them give a free hand to evaluate and see whether exactly quantum can put into your value culture, right, or value chain. I think these are the things that actually quantum healthcare and life science should do.
Great. Now, there's a very interesting question. I like this question in the chat here from Srinivasan. What do you think are some of the most promising areas for reaching quantum advantage? Like, we're in the era of quantum error correction, and we're on the threshold of reaching quantum advantage. What are some of the more promising applications that people could look at right now that may well lead to this next era?
I mean, it is very obvious that you always divide this application into three buckets. One is the, like how you can boost all your linear algebra, the like HHL kind of algorithm, which is a fault tolerant one. But there is also some proposal how we can actually use with the error mitigation, error correction. So that I would then call as a quantum machine learning side. Then the second basket is about the quantum optimization algorithms, right? Which all have a QAOA, VQE based approach. And the third one is about the simulation, right? The chemistry simulation. So if you really ask me which use case, it really a difficult question because it all boils down to what is your product, right? If your product is about, let's say, if you're a pharma company, if you're a biologics company, I would go, okay, maybe the quantum advantage would be there if you can simulate or if you can find the properties that you cannot do it using some empirical methods or DFT for a peptide or a binder, right? I think this is where the advantage would come. And then, as I said, the method like SQD, what we have shown, how a quantum and AI infrastructure and the HPC can work together. This is actually where I would see normally, at least in the error mitigation era, where we have to actually also improve the hardware, but at the same time, we also have to improve the algorithm side, right? So I think this is where the quantum advantage would happen. But again, it depends on what is your product line, right? But I think personally, if you ask me, I think chemistry with the method like SQD, where it has a really highly correlated problem, like a many-body physics problem. And this is where the quantum advantage would occur. That's my personal kind of opinion. Yeah.
Thank you. Says there seems to be many potential applications in drug discovery, but it looks like very early POC study. Can you tell a bit more about which application is going to be practically impactful?
Yeah, and it relates to like the initial question was asked. Again, it depends. Like, of course, I'm very hopeful about quantum machine learning also, and we have published lots of paper. And I just have to tell you, the community, that there is no theoretical advantage as such right now, because all our baseline is with respect to all the performant classical foundational model and things like that. But as you develop as you have more number of 2-qubit gate, right? So that you can actually express more fancy and expressive complex algorithm using quantum machine learning, which would solve the problem and which would be very comparable to what we normally have, the state of the art. The one such example, as I said, is the, like a fine tuning of the foundational model using, because it's going to reduce your lot of problems such as the sample complexity, this, like all this expressibility, right? For example, right now, a lot of limitations are there in the generative AI. For example, like generating the highly expressive population. There has been a lot of paper, by the way, okay? In case of medicinal chemistry, there is recently paper by Professor Alan Asper-Guzik and in silico medicine. They have shown how quantum circuit bond machine, if you use it as a pre-filtering using before LSTM, you can actually generate the chemical space which is beyond the ability of a classical GAN, right? So again, this sample mode, the expressibility coming with the diversity of the chemical structure, these are all the advantage you can actually really get it, right? And then, of course, optimization, as I said, and the chemistry, I'm really hopeful. I think chemistry is a problem where I think there is no comparison to the, there's no way we can actually achieve the full configuration interaction and solving the entire Hamiltonian, right, using the classical approach. This is impossible. So I think the quantum is the only way to go forward. Yeah.
So the next question is, how do you envision the application of quantum computing to large language models, LLMs?
So again, this amazing question, and that's what I said, right? It's because LLM is all these models are based on deep neural network, right? And the question you have to ask is, okay, how do you optimize the deep neural network? It's a heuristic, right? I mean, of course, there is no exact solution for this one, right? Because optimizing, and of course, we know with the back propagation and all these things, we try to basically optimize it. But again, this is not the exact solution, right? So I think the trend is going towards the physics-based energy minimization modeling in machine learning, right? And this is my personal opinion. And this is where I would see the huge implication of quantum to support and boost the performance of large language model, a foundational model, basically to really encode the information, the high dimensional information into the quantum Hilbert space, right? Like using the quantum feature maps, that's what we have actually proposed, using a variational quantum circuit also. It's a hybrid kind of approach. But yeah, I think there is a lot of hope in this particular spectrum. I hope that answers the question.
Excellent. I do want to thank everyone for being so active in the Q&A session here and asking really good questions. So the next question is, innovation in healthcare is more effective when data is shared across enterprises. How important is open access to patient data, drug research data across enterprise for quantum computing to realize tangible outcomes?
Well, I mean, this is not a question related to quantum computing, because even if you do not think about quantum, this is still a question, right? A challenge, how to do a federated machine learning modeling for a clinical trials or the patient's data shared across geographical location. I think this is more about the compliance and the regulatory questions. Unless we solve that issue, it really doesn't matter if it's a quantum or classical. This is still going to be a problem, and this is for the reason, right, why we have some regulated authorities and some compliances are there. But I think we have to really solve, and somebody else has to actually solve this. The authorities have to solve this problem. Yes, but yes, this is a major challenge to really have a federated machine learning modeling for different patients. Yeah, that's a challenge.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gopal. Thank you to everyone who
Thank you,
joined.
everyone. Thank you very much.
I'll turn it over to Jen to close us out.
Thanks. Yeah, so many great questions. Loved all of those. And I think that just to tag on to that last one, I think, Gopal, you shared that chart mapping algorithms to gate depth, the number of qubits. That's a helpful chart to look at in response to that question as well. So thank you all again for joining. We've been doing this industry webinar series. We have several more planned for this year. And so we really appreciate your feedback on the usefulness of this content, what you'd like to see more of, learn a little bit about you as audience members and what's useful for you. So please, we'll keep this window open for the next few minutes so you can use this QR code or link to access our survey. So please take time to do that now, and then we will close out.
Thank you, everyone.
I will say that we definitely take your feedback and implement it. So if you do this survey, thank you very much. Really appreciate your feedback.